Hello again, Claire Kennedy here and welcome back. This is going to be the first in 3 videos on simple layering techniques. So especially if you're starting out in acrylics and you want to get to know your paints and what they're capable of. I got my first set of acrylics probably about a dozen or so years ago, and I'd seen these really beautiful sort of colour-filled paintings where you could see sort of subtle layers, scratchings and scrapings and glazings, and some parts seemed to be almost hidden behind veils of colour. It was almost like you could see the history of the painting in front of you. And I really loved that. I was really sort of keen to learn, how these artists could create that using paint. So I enrolled in an acrylic painting for beginners class, and we were presented with a bowl of fruit and told to get on painting it, which wasn't what I was looking for at all. So I then enrolled in a different acrylic for beginners course in a different place, and we were given a different bowl of fruit, which is fine if you're wanting to learn how to paint fruit, but that wasn't what I was wanting at all. I just really was trying to get a foothold into how to get started with creating those sort of rich surfaces that I'd seen. So really, especially in those first months, I ended up experimenting quite a lot by myself and playing around with my paints. And I think a good place to start is with learning about the transparency or opacity of your paint, because I didn't realise really that when I bought my first set of 5 or 6 colours, that some colours are transparent, some are opaque, and that they act completely differently when you try to mix with them or you try to layer with them. And it's also not so easy to know to begin with if they're transparent or opaque, because if you look at, if you get the bottles, pick up a couple of bottles, they all look opaque when you see them in the bottle, but in actual fact, this one is very transparent, this one's opaque, and actually they look very, very different when you apply them onto the canvas, which we'll see. So I'm going to show you a very easy way to find out whether your paint is transparent or opaque. And then after that, I'll show you a nice exercise which you can do just to get started in creating a beautiful, rich, textured, layered surface, even just by thinking about transparency and opacity. So I'm going to attempt to rig up my camera above the table, which I've never done before. So I'm going to try and do that. And if I manage to do that, I'll see you in a wee minute. Bye for now. Well, I did manage to rig it up. It involved a pole, the fiddliest wee clamp in the world, and quite a lot of swearing. But anyway, it's working, so that's good. Not going to question it anymore. So here I've got just an A3 sketch pad. I've put a stripe of black paint in the middle, which is dry. And I've got a few of my favourite paint colours here. And we're just going to do a quick wee test just to check how transparent or how opaque these colours are. So I've got my water here. And it's always good to have a rag or a bit of kitchen roll in your other hand. And we're going to first start with the 2 colours which I picked off the shelf, which I use quite a lot. So the first one, red iron oxide, I'm just going to put over here. So you can see that is pretty transparent because you can really see right through it, and you can see that black line very, very clearly. This is a wee dry off. And the next one was Titan Green Pale, which I'm going to put beside it. So you can already see that is pretty opaque, and it's difficult to tell if you're looking just at the bottles. But it's really quite different. So it's always good to know that. I love using blue in my paintings. Anybody who knows my paintings will know that. And the blues, so you get some transparent blues, you get some much more opaque. It's always good to know that. So cobalt blue here. I use this one quite a lot. I'm just going to put this on. That's pretty transparent too. I mean, you can really tell that actually when you're painting it on into a painting, it's really quite transparent. It can give quite a nice sort of veiled effect. Here's another blue. This is Brilliant Blue by Cass Art. It's quite a nice one. Right beside. So I'd say that one is much more opaque. Same with the yellows. I've got two yellows here that I use quite a lot. Nickel Azo yellow and Naples yellow. And they act quite differently. So here's the Nickel Azo. Very transparent. Whereas the Naples is very opaque. It's a more kind of chalky yellow, which I actually like using that one quite a lot. I think I've got room for a couple more here. Let's have a look. Now, I must admit, I don't use this one so much, but I was just so attracted to it in the shop because it's so bright. Pearl Orange. So let's have a look at that. That's pretty transparent. And here is one that I do use quite a lot. Well, actually, I haven't for a while, but I used to use it a lot for mixing, for making colours paler, but not using white. If you want slightly a warmer, paler colour, you can use this called Titan Buff. And I'm going to put this on. It's much more opaque than some of them, but probably the most opaque is this one actually. And this is probably one of the most transparent. So it's just quite a good idea to, if you've got a few paints, just do this, then you're going to get to know them a bit. And if you're very organized, I mean, you can put this up on your studio wall and you can write down the names. That was red iron oxide. This was Titan green pale. I mean, you could do that and that would be very organized, probably more organized than I am, but it'd be not a bad idea. So in the next little video, we're going to just take this knowledge, we're just going to use a couple of colors and we'll do a nice little exercise to get you playing around with the transparencies and the opacities. So here's a nice wee exercise you can do. This is just a wooden panel, but you can use it as a bit of paper as well. It's absolutely fine. So instead of just a stripe of black here, I've just put various black shapes down with paint. I also did apply some photographic transfers just because I couldn't resist it. But just the idea, just get some black shapes down here and make sure that's dry actually. Yep. Just make sure it's dry. So we're going to pick just two colors. One transparent one, one opaque one. So I'm just going to pick these two that I picked up off the shelves earlier, and also because I've already got it mixed up here from our little experiment we did there. And we're going to just play around really and see how we can start layering using just two colors. So when I put down this one, I mean, you can see right through that. That is a proper transparent colour. Kind of nice. I like that. And then we get our Titan green. I'm also going to mix it a bit with that Titan buff just to lighten it up a little bit. But that's also an opaque colour, so that's fine. And you put this on, and you can see that that completely obliterates, or mostly obliterates, what's underneath it. Now, there are ways of making opaque colours a bit transparent and transparent colours a bit opaque, which we'll go into more in a different video, I think. But I'll just show you here. So here's your opaque. You could get a bit of paper if you want in some parts of this, and when it's still wet, lift it off. So there you go. You've got, it's not transparent exactly, it's almost like a kind of veil, and I quite like that look, that sort of veiled look. And you can go back in here if you want, just if you want some of it taken away, take some of it away again. It's all about sort of, that's what I like about acrylic painting, it's all about adding and subtracting, really. And then once that's dry, you could then layer on top. So I'm just going to get this is your friend, is the hairdryer, because it gets you working quickly, because it's always good to have your layers completely dry before you start the next layer, or else it all becomes muddy. So I'm just going to dry this off first a bit. Because then what you can do is then get your transparent colour here, and then go over the top of that again. So you've got kind of, you can actually see 3 layers now. Because you can still see the black underneath just peeking through. You can see the green and another layer of transparent in the top. And you can get do your little trick again with the paper and lift that off, and then you really start seeing them. And that's when you want to go back in on top with your opaque. You might want to cut around that a little bit. You know, a little negative painting. Edge. Oh, it's mixing a little bit there. That's because it wasn't dried properly in between. But you can sort of start building up nice surface. I'm actually going to do up here. I'm going to go on top of this one up here. I'm going to lift that off a little bit. And then you're starting to see 2 or 3 layers here as well, and I can go back into it. So what I would encourage you to do is, I mean, don't think of any final outcomes here. This is about just getting to know your paints just purely by using 2 paints, 2 colours, transparent and opaque. I can't resist using this because then you can really get the layers as well. But that's something I think I will look into in a different video, because I love that paper as well. But you can just start building up. Just play with it and you'll get nice little effects. And then I'll put another one up here. Now, I haven't actually dried this. I should have dried. But, you know, I can just see what happens here. Especially if I lift this. And just continue to play with it. And then, you know, what you could is wait till that all dries. What I might actually do is, you know, put another couple of little transfers in. So these flowers are veiled, but then I might want to put a flower which is a little bit more crisp and obvious. But just build it up. Don't think about the final outcome, because it's not really an outcome. This is just all about playing, getting to know your paints, and just enjoying it. And if you're practicing this, then you'll be able to apply it to maybe one of your final paintings that you want to do later on. But at the moment, just have fun, 2 colours, put some music on, something that you like, and just go for it. See you next time.